talking real loud, spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Saturday vitamins. Okay, so as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. All right, hello, Lady Painter, Buckhorse DC, Pearly, we the people. All right, let's get into it. Over thoughts. Shout out to all of my loyal royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because they be putting in work. I see you, Lillian X, LLCT6RP is in the virtual building. Emperor Rex, Danielle is here. Okay, so let's get the party started. Hadassah is here. Okay, so first let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, apparently, I told you all the other day that Trump is drunk with power, where clearly that is absolutely the case. Now he's warned Iran. You have Pete Hegseth bragging and talking trash about Russia and China. I mean, it's just all real crazy. Trump and Putin, there's likely going to be some retaliation. We don't even really know, but Russia has hinted to retaliation for the nefariousness. And then you have all of these leaders just turning against the United States. Okay, Germany has vowed that they will absolutely protect and defend Greenland and Denmark. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about the protesting, because these people are still upset about what happened with Renee Nicole Good, and as they should be. And so we have Congress talking about possibly impeaching Kristi Noem for lying. Okay, and they're still out here protesting. So let's go to the protests in Minnesota. Okay, likes up, everyone, please like and share. And also, here's the thing. Also, I'm going to show you all some footage of how these ICE agents are just really, now they're drunk with power too. Okay, they're really abusing their power, which they have been doing from day one, in my opinion, but now it's like it's escalated. You know, they're talking trash because they killed this woman. Like, y'all haven't learned yet? That's what they're saying to citizens. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. And then there looked like there was a scuffle on a video with an ICE agent and someone else, and their gun hit the ground and discharged. I'm sorry, why wasn't it on safety? These people are out here among U.S. citizens, even children and elders, and they are acting so reckless as if they're not even trained. Why is this person's gun discharging? Okay, so anyway, with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, DHS takes action in Minneapolis as anti-ICE protesters rage. And let me tell you all something. This is from an hour ago, reported by Fox News, so I'm quite sure they're going to paint a whole narrative. But here's the thing. I want you all to pay attention. I told you all to just remember that I told you all days ago that this is all going to send Trump, this is going to give him the wherewithal to declare martial law, which I absolutely think he wants to do, because he's already saying that they're going to lose midterms and he's going to be impeached. Steve Bannon is saying if they lose midterms, they're all going to jail, everybody in the room, including himself. Okay, so they're really desperate. Now, I believe that they have upped the ante with ICE, or had them escalate these situations so that people will be outraged and retaliate, be out here taken to the streets, just like they're doing. People are angry, and rightfully so, but I think this is what they wanted. So they can say everything's chaotic, and then they can, in fact, declare martial law. Okay, so Trump can skirt past the midterms. But let's get into this report. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. None of this is going to turn out good.
Thousand more Border Patrol agents to Minneapolis as protests in the Twin Cities and beyond heat up over the ICE-related shooting. Here to react is Minnesota Congressman and House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. So great to see you this morning, Congressman. Thanks for joining us. You know, obviously, there's a lot. You've got a lot going on back at home there. What can Republicans in Congress do to find out who is fomenting all of this violence?
Well, it's Charlie. It's sad that Minnesota is in the news for this, but I don't know that we have to do much more. All you got to do is watch. You've got Tim Walz literally sounding like Jefferson Davis. Our governor is saying, you know, we're at war with the federal government. He claims that he can call the National Guard out. You know, they want to tell people to go ahead and protest, but what they're literally doing is encouraging more violence, whether it's our governor, Tim Walz, who's been a complete failure, or it's our attorney general, it's Mary Moriarty. We've got a Hennepin County.
You know, this is the thing that gets me. The right, they're the ones promoting violence. That's why they have ICE out there on the streets. They're the one infuriating people and sparking tensions, but they want to blame everything on the left and the Democrats. Okay, this is all crazy. Let's continue.
That's Minneapolis, Charlie. Prosecutor who wants to do her own investigation now. Keep in mind, this is the same prosecutor that withheld exculpatory evidence for a Minnesota State Patrol officer accused with excessive force. What does that mean, Charlie? She wouldn't share it with the court. She got caught hiding evidence that would have, and it did. It ultimately ended in dropping the charges. But in this case, you don't have to go very far to look and see who is fomenting all of this violence. And to claim that these people are peaceful, Charlie, they're yelling, save a life, kill ICE. That's not peaceful, and that is not appropriate. Tim Walz should have come out right.
Now, what's interesting is he's making this argument after ICE has killed people. Okay? If someone is saying that, that's them talking. But at the end of the day, ICE has actually done it. Okay? So I'm sorry, make that make sense.
Away and said, everybody be calm, withhold your judgment. We know that this is a very sensitive matter. Let law enforcement do their work. Then the director of public safety should have been on right after that. And instead of giving a list of what you can do to peacefully protest, quote unquote, he should have come out and said there will be no violence. There will be no property destruction. If you do that on our streets, we will hold you.
I've heard enough from this idiot. At the end of the day, he needs to shut the hell up, okay? At the end of the day, that's what he needs to do, okay? At the end of the day, ICE is the damn problem. They're out here acting like people. You know, this is like a whole Gestapo. They're out here accosting people, harassing people, stalking people. I have some videos to show, okay? I'll get to those, but some of them contain cursing. So I want to wait a few minutes before I actually show those. But meantime, let's go to this viral clip of the Philadelphia sheriff condemning ICE and their murdering of Renee Nicole Good.
I'm Rochelle Bilal, the sheriff for the city and county of Philadelphia. And I say her name, Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. This should not have happened, but we're here today. Let know that law enforcement professionals, real ones, not the fake made up ICE, probably Trump's new army to attack citizens of the United States. Did you hear what I said? No law enforcement professional wears a mask. None. None. Those that come into our communities wearing a mask to commit crime, thank God for our district attorney, Larry Krasner, who said he's going to lock them up. And I'm saying now, we are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested there. No whisk away for them to hide you. None of that here. None of that here. Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. I'm not saying fleeing, because she wasn't fleeing. She was getting out of the way. Law enforcement professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles invoking an action that is illegal. No, we don't. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. I call them made up, fake, wannabe law enforcement. Because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law. So I'm with the DA, and we will work with them. If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Nobody will wish you off. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it to you. And the fake, whatever they call them, because I can't say the name, but the criminal in the White House would not be able to keep you from going to jail. Renee Good should be here today. And to her family, we are saying law enforcement professionals are not the ones here in this city that would do that. But here's the last thing that I would say. Law enforcement professionals around the country do their job. And we have been fighting for years to build that bridge between us and our communities. You have one negative nutcase that causes this problem, and now we all have to fight again to let people know law enforcement works with communities. These crimes would not be down if we didn't have communities work with us. Thank you.
Okay, y'all heard what she said. She called Trump a whole criminal in the White House. Okay, this lady is not playing games, and nor should she. But now, someone left a comment saying they don't do this when it's our people. Well, they don't. I said that yesterday. And that's why I also said that when I found out that ICE had killed someone, I said, now, if it's a white person, that's the only way they're going to make a big to-do about it. That's the only way it's going to get some traction or get out there and infuriate and enrage people, because we already know if it's a black person, the only people mad are us. We already know that, but sadly, it is what it is. Okay, sadly, it is what it is. But I'm just glad that all of these people are coming out and saying, oh, this is wrong, and they did this and they did that. Because now when a black person gets killed unjustly by law enforcement, unarmed, please don't try to change and paint a narrative. Okay, because just like they got mad about this, they should be equally as mad when it happens to black people. But we all know they don't. We all know that. I mean, Jasmine Crockett sat up there yesterday and damn near cried. In fact, she did cry. Okay, she was getting choked up, teary-eyed when she was talking about Renee Good, and that's all fine. It is a sad story, but I've never seen Little Miss Crockett shed a tear for a black person who was killed unjustly by the police. I'm sorry, maybe she has. I've never seen it. Little Miss Crockett, so I have several questions. With that all being said, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, this is the story of a pastor who says that he was basically harassed by ICE and detained.
A local Minneapolis pastor was among the protesters following yesterday's shooting. He was in the neighborhood where the shooting happened and has worked there for years. Reverend Kenny Callahan says he was handcuffed and detained by a masked federal agent and put in the back of an SUV. He says the agent asked, "Are you afraid yet?" When he was eventually released, Reverend Callahan says the agent told him, "Well, you're white, and it wouldn't be any fun." Reverend Callahan joins me now. Reverend, thank you for joining us. These are some explosive allegations. Tell me about what happened.
So as I arrived at church yesterday, I noticed that there was something going on just a block and a half from the church. And so I grabbed my whistles because we're used to doing that. And I went down to see what was going on. And I realized it was an ICE raid. And there were many, many protesters. So I joined the protesting. And before I knew it, I saw ICE agents circling a young woman who appeared to be Hispanic. And so I approached her, and we were at that point chanting, "We are not afraid. We are not afraid. Go out of our state. We are not afraid." And I said to this ICE agent, "Take me. Stop harassing her. Take me." The agent came, got in my face, pointed a gun at me, and said, "Are you afraid now?" To which I said, "I am not afraid." The next thing I knew, they were putting handcuffs on me, and they put me in the back of an SUV. They came back 3 times, and they asked me if I was afraid yet. To which I replied, "Hell no, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm never going to be afraid of you." The third time when they came back, they asked for my identification. They asked for my cell phone. I asked them if I was under arrest. They didn't answer. And then they said to me, "Well, you're white. You won't be any fun anyway. You can get out of the car." I was astounded to experience and see such blatant racism and the effects that this is having on our community. But let me tell you, the other thing that I was amazed by was the number of different kinds of persons that were showing up at that rally to support immigrants and to be able to say, no, we are going to support our immigrant siblings because this is what we do. And so I was grateful to be there and grateful to stand in solidarity with anyone who is marginalized within our society, and will continue to advocate for the rights of my immigrant siblings here in Minneapolis and around the world.
That is a shocking thing for you to say, he said to you. Was there any other agent around? Did anybody look at him askance? Was there any reaction?
There were two other agents, and I don't know what they were saying. I was so shocked. There were two other persons in the car with me that they released, and I don't know what they were doing to them, but I know that their experiences were the same. It was definitely intimidation at its finest. And they were pepper spraying people yesterday as well and pushing people to the ground. And we were non-violently protesting. We were simply supporting our immigrant siblings and our neighbors that are being attacked by these ICE agents.
Was there any talk about the woman who was shot? I mean, when the ICE agent said, "Are you afraid yet?" What did you understand him to be implying? What was he saying to you? Why would you be afraid? What was he talking about?
So the shooting had already happened. And at that point, it was like a wave of outrage coming from the protesters and the observers. So it was that energy coming from that reality of the shooting. We heard that somebody had been shot and killed, seeing this immigrant woman being harassed. And I don't know what happened to me. In my world, I say God empowered me to speak up for somebody at that moment and gave me the strength to be able to do so. But there was no talk from the ICE agents of anything but pushing people around and acting out of power and control. Complete intimidation. And the crowd was outraged and got louder and louder and louder.
Reverend Callahan, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, absolutely egregious. Okay, please pay attention. Now, XX Frank Nitty says that brother that got killed by the ICE agent didn't get this much attention, though the media is quiet. Well, of course they're quiet. It's black. Okay, and it didn't help matters any that he had an AK-47 when he was shot. Okay, you know they can use that to paint a narrative at the end of the day. Even if he wasn't putting them in imminent danger, the ICE agent says that he fired at him 3 times. They've not produced any shell casings or anything, footage or anything or whatever. I guess it's basically the ICE agent's word because the man is deceased. But I just really wish, like I said yesterday, he had not been outside shooting foolishly into the air on New Year's Eve. That's dumb. That's dangerous. And now it's given that ICE agent, it gave him a reason to take his life. And that's effed up. But of course, they're not going to give any coverage. Of course, they're not going to give any coverage to that. And that's why I said that Renee Nicole Good being a white woman, of course, it's going to get coverage. I knew it would. And that's why when I heard about it, I said, I hope that the person was white so they can do something about it, so they can be outraged, so they can go in on Trump and his nefarious administration, because that's the only way this was going to happen. But let me just remind you all again, they definitely are doing all of this, stoking these tensions, like I said, in my opinion, so that Trump can declare martial law. Let's take a look at this, where all of these protests are currently going on. Minneapolis, Boston, Asheville, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Portland, Indianapolis, New York City, Cleveland. And also they were protesting here in Atlanta, supposedly. I heard about it, that they were up at the Capitol, okay, a day or two ago. Okay, so this is going on pretty much everywhere. Colorado even. I have the footage from the protest there. Okay, so anyway, this is all going to give Trump the reasoning that he wants, the justification for him to declare martial law. Okay, watch what I tell you.
Law enforcement personnel have moved or will be moved to the Minneapolis area from other cities, including Chicago and New Orleans. Governor Tim Walz and other state officials have pleaded for the government to pull back any agents after a tense 48 hours that saw protesters clashing with federal officers. The governor has now ordered the National Guard to be staged and ready to support local and state law enforcement, who are simultaneously fighting to have a role in the investigation after the FBI froze them out.
If you got nothing to hide from, then don't hide from it. Include local experts in the process. We got nothing to hide from here. All we want in Minneapolis is justice and the truth. 50% of the shootings that have happened thus far in Minneapolis this year have been ICE. In other words, we've only had 2 shootings. One of them has been ICE. We are a safe city. ICE is making it less so.
Another shooting is adding to the outrage. 2 people were shot by Border Patrol agents during a traffic stop in Portland, Oregon. Their conditions unknown. The visceral reaction, the anger, is evident across the country. Look at this. Protesters taking to the streets nationwide. We now know there are plans for demonstrations to stretch through the weekend. Michael, do you think more law enforcement coming in from, as we said, Chicago, New Orleans, helps or hurts the situation?
Oh, I don't think it's even a question. I think it emphatically hurts the situation, exacerbates things, and is likely to create more incidents of violence. As the mayor stated, Minneapolis is not a city that has had a serious problem with criminal violence recently. The 50% of their shootings recently, he said, were by government agents. And we need to reiterate that. We are in a situation where masked agents are refusing to identify themselves and gunning down civilians who are not committing any crimes of violence. This is palpably insane.
Buckhorse DC says, I ain't going back to the plantation. Heaven. I'll see y'all on the other side. Good luck. Buckhorse DC, why are you telling us good luck? Honey, you're right here just like we are in the US of A, where everybody in all these other countries is looking at all of us with a whole side eye, including you, okay? Talking about good luck. Yeah, we're all going to need it, including yourself, beloved. Okay, let's
In
continue.
48 hours, this has happened in 2 cities. What the situation calls for is de-escalation, good faith negotiations on the part of the federal government with states about what they actually need in their jurisdictions, and a willingness to back down when their presence is not appropriate or helpful.
Ooh, this is all so crazy. I want y'all to pay attention. True Snow says when they start protesting on behalf of blacks getting that anti-black hate crime bill and reparations check, then I might believe them. Other than that, this is just propaganda. Okay? I'm not going to say it's propaganda. I think it's all very much so orchestrated so they can go into martial law. But at the end of the day, I get what you're saying, because they do not go this hard in the paint when it's a black person. We already know that. And everyone that's acting so shocked and appalled that they took this woman up out of there, even though she wasn't doing anything problematic or she wasn't committing a crime, and the fact that she was unarmed and all that, well, that happens to black people every day. That literally happens to a black person every day in this darn country. Sadly, some of the incidents make the news, but many of them don't. And with that all being said, the people acting so shocked, like, you know, and I want you all to pay attention, how they rushed to start making excuses, you know, or defending this woman. And I'm not saying they should have, because absolutely they should. I don't think she did anything wrong and definitely didn't deserve being killed. But what I'm saying is, it's so interesting because when black people have this same situation happen to one of our people, the first thing they rush to do is not to justify or not to defend the person, but to justify the officer's actions. That's the first thing they do. And I still have so many questions as to how an officer can kill you unarmed and then lie and say they fear for their lives, and then say that you resisted arrest when you were not even under arrest. If you're not under arrest, how do you resist arrest? Make that make sense. Because I don't even know how to this day they still get away with that. Okay? They're also not supposed to shoot a fleeing suspect. Okay? But they just do whatever they want in this country, clearly, as we can all see.
Scheduled across America today, the fatal shooting in Minneapolis is also igniting tensions on Capitol Hill. Democrats are raging about ICE's actions and their Republican colleagues' reactions to it. There was a heated exchange on the House floor Wednesday between 2 Minnesota lawmakers, Democrat Angie Craig and Republican Majority Whip Tom Emmer, Craig said she wanted to address Emmer's social media posts defending ICE's actions. Congresswoman Craig is joining us now. Congresswoman, can you talk a little bit about this debate that you had with Tom Emmer and your reaction to his response?
Well, look, I was outraged, just like every Minnesotan and every American, for what Trump's ICE is doing in Minnesota and across this country. You know, Tom Emmer is someone who I've served with for 8 years in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's the third top ranking Republican in that party. He has direct access to Donald Trump. This political stunt that the Trump administration pulled in Minneapolis this week got Renee Good killed. And that's what I told him on the House floor. You know, look, these Republicans in Congress right now, they don't want to take responsibility for the conflict and the lack of judgment by this lawless administration. And look, what you saw was a pissed off Congresswoman on the House floor.
Congresswoman, as I say often, you are my alma mater's Congresswoman. The Carleton College is in Northfield, Minnesota. And I know ICE has made its presence known in Northfield. And I'm wondering what you are hearing from your constituents since ICE showed up in the community, but especially since the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis.
Well, Jonathan, that's exactly right. I was with Carleton students on the steps of the Capitol yesterday before I left Washington, D.C., and I was in touch in Northfield with the city yesterday. And what's interesting is that, you know, the police chief was there. And I think what we all have to understand is ICE's presence in Minnesota, in our communities, is not making us more safe. You know, we should all, as members of Congress, be most interested in making sure that our communities are safe. But our local law enforcement, you know, it's been a really tough 5 years here in Minnesota. They have worked really hard to restore trust across Minnesota with Minnesotans in their policing tactics. What you saw in that video that the officer himself took, he didn't feel like he was in imminent danger. He had his cell phone out, rounding that car. It is absolutely ridiculous. And now what you've seen, Jonathan, is, you know, J.D. Vance has to come out and play cleanup for ICE Barbie because her ICE, the Trump administration's ICE, is out of control in our communities.
And then they absolutely are out of control. Okay. Absolutely. Oh, you know what? Dang it. I wanted to get to the part, I forgot that I wanted to get to the part where she talked about Kristi Noem possibly being impeached. Okay, so let me go back to that. Hold on. Okay, let me go back to that. But here's the thing. Do you all know that ICE is going door to door? Okay, they're now going door to door. Now, this just came out. So federal officials say Americans can expect to see even more muscular immigration enforcement in the coming months, with over 10,000 new ICE agents hitting the streets, armed with personal data harvested by private contractors. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance said that ICE would be going door to door in the coming months as agents carry out President Donald Trump's plans for the largest mass deportation in history. Federal officials say they've now got about 22,000 agents and investigators, up from 10,000 a year ago. Okay, without providing specific details, White House officials say 2.5 million people living illegally in the United States have already been deported or left under pressure, and promise far more will be leaving one way or another. Vance's comments were broadcast hours after an immigration and customs enforcement agent in Minneapolis shot and killed a woman inside her car during a chaotic confrontation. White House officials have accused Democrats of encouraging illegal immigration to reshape the country's voting patterns. Vance said the more aggressive enforcement that began in 2025 will ramp up this year, saying all of the big investments that we've made in border security, what we've done is actually gotten 2.5 million illegal aliens out of the way, okay, without any of the really big marquee things that we've been working on, he says. I think we're going to see those deportation numbers ramp up as we get more and more people online working for ICE. More and more people online working for ICE. Do you think these people are official? Do you think these people are properly trained? They're just hiring these people, I promise you. And then they're giving them these bonuses. I don't know if they're still giving out bonuses, but they're just hiring these people off the streets. Some of these people probably don't have any type of law enforcement experience. These people could be janitors, plumbers, McDonald's workers. They could be anybody, and they're giving them guns and badges. Now, I want you all to see this video that I'm going to show in a minute, where this officer, an ICE agent, his gun hit the ground and discharged. Why in the hell wasn't it on safety? And how could you be so careless? Thank God it didn't shoot anybody. But let me continue. So it goes on to say, they'll be going door to door, making sure if you're an illegal alien, you've got to get out of this country. And if you want to come back, apply through the proper channels. So with that all being said, let's continue. I'm going to go back to the video. This is all so egregious. This country is the worst. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention.
Trust in Minnesota for law enforcement, to recruit local police officers. And at this point, ICE is making local law enforcement's job much more difficult, and they need to leave Minnesota. That's my message. And then I'm going to add this: they shouldn't be in our schools. They shouldn't be in our daycares. They shouldn't be in our churches. I have legislation that would prohibit them from doing just that. And by the way, they should all be wearing body cameras, and it shouldn't be optional. We should be able to see at all times what's happening with this arrogant, out of control.
And that's another thing. Now, that officer who shot and killed Renee Nicole Good, how was he able to record that on his phone? How were any of those agents able to sit there and record that stuff on their phone? Y'all didn't think that sounded crazy? Did y'all even think about that? That phone video that came out yesterday? How did they have time to record that if they were so scared for their lives? If they were in such imminent danger, how do you have time to record something on your cell phone? Okay. Shouldn't you have taken on a defensive posture? I'm sorry. And wasn't it supposed to be, Trusno said the opportunity presented itself. Okay, and now Robert says body cam. Yeah, and that's the thing, because pretty much they have an option. Okay, pretty much they have an option. Danger says, right, literally just signing up everybody and their mama. Probably only 6 weeks training, not enough time. Exactly. Oh, crazy.
Law
Let's
enforcement
continue.
department.
Congresswoman, really quickly, how many is leadership of the House Democrats in support of the impeachment effort? Have you guys talked to them about this?
Well, look, we've been working to draft the articles of impeachment. We're going to be talking to House leadership about this. And look, at the end of the day, we can all see with our own eyes. And that is why this has been so difficult for the Trump administration to clean up. Even yesterday, with J.D. Vance releasing this second video, it just raises more questions. And there has to be an independent investigation. For there to be true unity and trust in Minnesota, local officials, U.S. Attorney, AG Keith Ellison, we've got to have our local attorneys involved in this process.
And Congresswoman, before we run out of time, I want to get back to the presence of ICE in your community. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey wrote in the New York Times in an opinion column that the administration was sending a message to the entire country. If you show up for your immigrant neighbors, or even are simply present when those neighbors are taken, your rights will not be protected by the law and your life will be at risk. When I saw this shocking video of Renee Good, the first thing I thought about are the people I know and the protesters who are part of these ICE alerting networks who are trying to be on the lookout for their neighbors. How are you going to ensure, what do you have to say to those people today about whether or not it is safe for them to continue engaging in this kind of community activity?
Well, look, these are constitutional observers. They have every right to be there. And the expectation we should have from ICE agents is that they are properly trained, which many of them have not been, and that when they enter a situation, that they do not escalate it. What we saw in that video is that ICE escalated this situation, that this didn't have to happen in our community. And I would say to our community, look, we have to keep showing up for each other. This is an incredibly difficult time in our community, but we cannot stop showing up. We cannot stop speaking out. And as a member of Congress from this community, you sure better bet I won't. City yesterday. And what's interesting is that with Minnesotans in their policing tactics, what you saw in that video, clean up for ICE Barbie, because her ICE, the Trump administration's ICE, is out of control in our communities.
Congresswoman Craig, ICE Barbie that you're referring to, Secretary Kristi Noem, Congresswoman Kelly of Illinois, Robin Kelly of Illinois, has been drafting articles of impeachment for Kristi Noem. I think she's been doing that for some time now. Are you supportive of that effort? And do you think that House Democrats should push to impeach Kristi Noem?
Yes, I'm working directly with Robin Kelly of Illinois in those articles of impeachment. This week, we hope it's going to come back soon. It's a robust draft. It's been with what's called Ledge Council. Look, at the day, Kristi Noem is lawless. She is not, this administration is not following any laws in our country. And that's what makes this so dangerous for our communities. The fact that our local law enforcement, too, has no coordination from ICE. And look, again, we spent a lot of time trying to restore trust in Minnesota through law enforcement, to recruit.
Okay, so I rewound that because I wanted you all to hear what they said about Kristi Noem and them filing an impeachment against her and calling her ICE Barbie. Okay, so now let's go to this video that I shared on X, where this ICE agent pulls out his gun and points it at citizens. Here we go.
Put the gun away! You can shoot people, you piece of shit! Get the fuck out of here! You piece of shit! Leave her alone! Let her go! Let her go! Let her go! Let her go! Get the fuck out of here! Let her go! Let her go! Get the fuck out of here! You pull the gun on people? Fuck you, you piece of shit! You fucking piece of shit! You fucking piece of shit! Leave her alone! You're a piece of shit! Fuck you! Get the fuck out of here!
Now he has information. He basically doxed the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Nicole Good. He's got all his information. Now listen to this. It says that Jonathan Ross handling an M249 saw machine gun while in uniform worn in the early years of the Iraq War, standing in front of a green painted Humvee. Now this is his personal information, his address, his name, what is all this related to, people that are his possible relatives, phone number and whatnot. He just basically did a search on him. Okay, and some of these people have criminal records too. Okay, so are they doing background checks? Likely not. Now listen to Trump sitting here lying and talking trash about the people that were speaking out for Renee Good.
But there was a woman screaming, shame, 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 shame.
Shame! 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 Shame!
She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker.
Do you all hear this idiot? He said she was so professional, probably a paid agitator. Do y'all hear this? And then look how JD Vance is looking at him like he's crazy, even though they're both insane as far as I'm concerned. Let's continue.
Because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this, the news sort of turned her down, turned her off, because you're trying to watch. She was so loud and so crazy and just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol. But there was.
Okay, so he sounds real crazy. I just want y'all to pay attention. It's saying that nobody would scream when they see somebody get killed. Most people likely scream when they see somebody get killed. Okay, he sounds ridiculous. Now let's go to this video right here. Here's the one you need to pay attention to, because this is how you know ICE is drunk with power and clearly are psychopaths at this point. Listen to what he says.
Today, we have your plate number. We saw you driving erratically, very dangerous to the public.
How you doing?
Good. How about you?
You're interfering with our operations.
Not
You
at
can
all.
be arrested
Not at
under
all.
18
Stop
USC
doing that.
111.
Nope. Not
We will
not
arrest
interfering.
you.
Not if
You
you're
have
not
been interfering with our operations.
You were following us yesterday.
Numerous
Watch
times.
what you're doing, dude.
Numerous times you've
Not
been
interfering.
interfering with our operations.
Not interfering.
Yes, you are.
No, I am not.
If you
Never got in
continue,
front of you.
you will be in handcuffs. You will be arrested. You will be
18
prosecuted.
US code 111. Get that through your head,
That's
dude.
a lot of numbers you just remember.
Yep.
Good job. I'm not breaking the law, and you fucking know it.
Yes, you are.
Not breaking the law,
Yes, you are.
and you fucking know it. Never got in front of everyone. Never.
One more time, and I will put you in handcuffs.
Bro.
One more time.
Bro.
Now, with the amount of hostility and aggression that he's exhibiting, clearly he's pissed off. And so if this man were actually breaking the law, he definitely would have arrested him. This is an intimidation tactic, quoting 18 USC 111. All that states is that federal law, it's a federal law that criminalizes the forceful or the forcible assault, resistance, opposition, impedance, or whatever, intimidation or interference with federal officers. He wasn't doing that. He was standing there recording them. They said he'd been following them. Maybe he was following them to see what they're going to do. Who knows? But at the end of the day, he's not impeding anything. He's not obstructing anything. He's a good distance away from them. And that is your right as a citizen. You can record law enforcement, specifically when they're in public. Okay, he was not doing anything to interfere with them doing their job, if they were in fact doing a job, okay? Other than harassing folk. But let's continue.
Keep it up.
Step the fuck off. You piece
No,
of shit.
no, I'll
Yeah.
stand right here, pal. Right here all
And
day.
if I fucking touch you, then you're gonna fucking arrest me.
Right all day.
Yeah. Fuck you.
You're worthless.
Fuck you.
Worthless.
Fuck you.
You are.
Fuck you.
You have
Yeah.
no honor.
Hold your fucking dogs back. Hold your fucking.
Today, we have your plate.
Drove away with 3 of his bullets. The first words she said to him were, "I'm not mad at you." And the last thing he said to her was, "fucking bitch," as her corpse drove away with 3 of his bullets in her goddamn face. That's how you frame this thing. That's the new angle. How many murder angles do you need to see? How many more? He shot her in the face and called her a fucking bitch. And then he got in his car and drove away while his buddies made sure an ambulance couldn't reach her. While his buddies stood around going, "Oh, guess it's getting a little warm in here, huh, fellas?" And then what happened? His boss got in a press conference as her corpse wasn't even cold yet in the snow of Minnesota and called her a fucking domestic terrorist. Then the president got on and called it a justified killing. Then the vice president got on and called her deranged. Nobody called her a mom. Nobody called her an American citizen. Nobody called her Renee Good. What they called her was in the way. And now here we are, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th angle. How many angles do you need to see before you realize our Constitution's dead?
Now, let me say this. Let me say this. This right here, this is good. Okay, this is good. You see, white people are outraged. They are livid. And this is good at the end of the day because they should be. They need to be. Okay, at the end of the day, because they're going to do a whole lot more than what black folk would do if it was one of us. And that's just facts. And I want you to pay attention to how Trump is pissing off all these other world leaders. He's got NATO looking at him with a side eye. They don't trust him. They don't believe the U.S. is still loyal. They're saying that their ties and protection with the U.S. seems to be weakening. Then you have Putin is ticked off at Trump. They're talking about possible retaliation or revenge attacks and all of these things. Also, by the way, when they snatched up that Russian oil tanker days ago, Putin sent in a nuclear ship to retrieve it, as big as a city block. Okay? So I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, Denmark has said that Trump is destroying world order. I'm sorry, Germany said that. Denmark's the ones that said they'll shoot first and ask questions later. But Germany has accused the United States of destroying, or Trump, of destroying world order. But isn't that what I told you all he was going to do? Dismantle the United States. That is his job. That is the assignment to which I believe he has been given. Dismantle the United States from the inside out and then start a whole nother United States. Okay? One that he rules with an iron fist, with him controlling the hemisphere. Okay? The Western Hemisphere. This is what he wants. He's not going to get it, but that's what he wants. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention because this is all going to end badly. I promise you it is. I just don't see anything good coming from it. Another thing too,
very dangerous
that you all may not notice because they haven't been reporting this on the news.
How you doing? You're interfering with her operations. You could be arrested under 8.
We were talking about this earlier this morning, and she was saying how many of these countries have not been purchasing from the U.S. anymore because of Trump's nefarious tariffs. And this has been going on for months. And they're not talking about this in the lamestream media. And this is part of the reason why Trump's doing all of this as well. Okay? Because he knows that the economy is in the tank thanks to him and his nefarious tariffs. So now he wants to stop Putin, Russia from making money, and he wants that money to come to the U.S. That's why he's threatening these sanctions and saying that any countries that buy cheap oil from Russia, he's going to hit them with heavy sanctions. Remember yesterday they reported like 500% sanctions. Like that's crazy. Okay? So a lot of these countries are not even fooling with the United States already. It's just all so egregious. But let's continue. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Now, here's the one where the fool's gun goes off, and I just have to wonder why it wasn't on safety. Watch him slip. See that? Idiot slipped and fell, and his gun went off. When I tell you this is all crazy. All so crazy. Okay, now, with that all being said, let's talk about Hegseth. Okay, when he's sitting here talking all tough and bringing up China and Russia, I'm going to go to the footage. Here we go.
In a stern warning to China and Russia, the U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, has said that America is rebuilding military dominance to a level so absolute that its enemies would not dare test it. Hegseth delivered these remarks at the Newport News shipyard as part of a nationwide defense tour. Speaking on the U.S.'s recent military operation in Venezuela, Hegseth said that it served as evidence of renewed American military readiness and the limits of non-American defense technology.
And third, we're reestablishing deterrence that's so absolute and so unquestioned that our enemies will not dare to test us. You see, under the previous administration, whether it was the debacle of the withdrawal in Afghanistan that cost American lives and smeared our reputation, whether it was the war unleashed in Israel after October 7th by Hamas, or the war in Ukraine that never would have started under President Trump, the world started wondering whether America really was strong and whether America really could lead. Well, that's over now.
Hegseth also issued a sharp critique regarding the effectiveness of the Russian air defense systems in Venezuela. The U.S. Secretary of War said that Russian systems failed to activate when U.S. Special Forces operated in Caracas.
And then we saw 3 nights ago in downtown Caracas in Venezuela, as nearly 200 of our greatest Americans went downtown in Caracas. Seems those Russian air defenses didn't quite work so well, did they? Downtown Caracas, grabbed an indicted individual wanted by American justice in support of law enforcement without a single American killed.
Meanwhile, remember, China and Russia have been long-standing allies of the now deposed President Nicolas Maduro. The capture of Maduro and his wife by American military prompted strong reactions from Moscow and Beijing, with both sides condemning the U.S. action and calling for Maduro's immediate release.
Yeah, and I want you all to pay attention because that's another thing. Okay, that's another thing. These countries around the world are calling for Trump to release Maduro and his wife. Now, whether that man is nefarious or he's a dictator or whatnot, at the end of the day, they went about this all wrong. Okay, they went about this all wrong, and people are very upset about it. Now he's making threats to Iran. You heard Pete Hegseth just say that our enemies will know not to test us. Okay, like they're so big and bad. What if your enemies all get together? Okay, did he think about that?
Taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. That doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts.
Last night in Tehran and some other places, a bunch of vandals showed up and destroyed buildings belonging to their own country, just to please the U.S. president.
President Trump and the supreme leader there of Iran, as you look at a map of the recent protests just in the past day or so, we're now at plus 100 cities where they're seeing activity, protest activity, and there is some crackdown by the regime. What does this mean big picture? Let's start there and bring in Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired General Jack Keane. General, thanks for being here. This seems like it started as an economic protest, but
You know, Selmo, that's a good question. Is it me, Queen, or all the ICE agents really the Proud Boys? Honey, they act like the Proud Boys, and you know what? That's probably exactly who they are, because Trump does have an affinity for them. Remember, he said to them, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. Remember that? So that could be absolutely who they are. And some of them likely are the January the 6th protesters that he pardoned too. Please pay attention.
it has developed into a regime protest against the regime, and it seems to be significant.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it started certainly with middle-class merchants in the marketplace and bazaars, and moved to poor working-class workers who felt completely disassociated with the economy. You know, they couldn't make everyday needs. I mean, it's hard to get your head around 42% inflation and what that actually means for an everyday citizen. And then it spread to academia and to students, which have always been a part of these protests, but they were the last ones to join. And now it's cutting across much of the socioeconomic demographics that exist in Iran. And it's in major cities, to be sure. The city that matters the most, and it's where the seat of power in the government is, certainly Tehran, even though it's widespread, to be sure. And we've seen these before, and we've had aspirations that maybe this is the one that will make the difference, and the regime will collapse and people will get on an airplane and leave. But it's never happened. The only things I would add to that, there are two things that are completely different than the previous demonstrations. One is that the regime is at its weakest point in 45 years. Politically, they can't meet the social and political and economic aspirations of the people. Economically, they're in the tank, to be sure, and with no prospect of recovering. And militarily, they just lost a war. They've lost their platform in Syria. Their proxies are, by and large, decapitated and almost eliminated, to be sure. And the result of all of that is they are in a fundamentally weak position. And it's serious in terms of the regime. And when you have that, it also breeds discontent and breaks down trust and unity because people begin to fear about their own survival. The second thing that's completely different, Brett, and that is President Trump. He is in power, and he uses force to accomplish significant objectives, but uses limited force. And he has told them, no uncertain terms, if you kill these people, you're going to answer to me, paraphrasing his words. They've killed 48. They've imprisoned about 2,000. We know when they put them behind the walls, what do they do to them? They torture them, they beat them, and they hang them. And they do that out of public view for all the obvious reasons. If I was in the Iranian regime, I would take President Trump dead serious here.
General, the question is, what does that look like? When the president puts out that we're locked and loaded if you're killing these protesters, as you mentioned, there are arguably some reports that 60 plus already killed and 2,300 captured and detained. There's all kinds of reports of an increased crackdown that's coming on protesters. And then you have Israel's concerns about the buildup of ballistic missiles starting up again that could lead to more strikes, either by the U.S. or by Israel.
Well, the strikes against ballistic missiles are inevitable. It's just a matter of when. That's the reality. No physical restart of the program for nuclear weapons, although they certainly intend to do that. But the matter at hand dealing with the protests, look, the United States and our Central Intelligence Agency and other agencies are gathering intelligence here. They're monitoring this closely. Remember, Israel killed not some of the Iranian senior military leaders. They killed all of the Iranian senior military leaders. They chose not to kill any of the civilian leaders. Did they know where they were? Could they have killed them? You betcha. We're sharing intelligence. It is likely if we do something here, and as the Iranians continue to blow off President Trump, I think that likelihood becomes considerably more possible and potential. And that is the leaders themselves in the movement. There's headquarters that are responsible for this as well. There's military capability out there that certainly supports all of this. There are a number of options that the president and his team and the Israelis.
Okay, so he's condoning Trump's BS. Lots Beacon says, thank you for all the news and current events you share. We count on you to keep us informed. Your time and perspective is so appreciated. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate your kind words. And thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, let me say this. Did you all know, did I tell you all how when they went to capture Maduro, do you all know that not only had they been surveilling this man for months and all of that, watching his every move or whatever, but they actually had a replica of his residence to trade in. That's how they got him so quick because this person in the military, I want to say naval intelligence, ex-naval, former naval intelligence or something, but basically said that a source told him that they were in and out within 28 minutes from Trinidad. They were in and out within 28 minutes. That was quick as hell. So there clearly was somebody working on the inside as far as I'm concerned, but they say the military built an exact replica of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's heavily fortified safe house, okay, his residence, in a secret training facility. And they said it was likely in Kentucky to allow, and that would probably be at Fort Knox, okay, to allow elite forces like Delta Force to rehearse the months-long plan, code-named Operation Absolute Resolve, okay, to capture him in early January the 26th. And this allowed them to practice entry routes, including breaching steel walls with blow torches for the surgical strike that successfully took Maduro and his wife into custody. And here's the thing, too. Now, when Trump said, I was thinking about what Trump said, right? How Trump was bragging. Trump was talking about Maduro was laying in the bed and all of that. Well, first of all, I doubt he was laying in the bed because he had to have heard all those bombs going off outside of his window. Like they were dropping 2,000-pound bombs, supposedly. Okay, and how many people died? What is the death toll? How many people murdered? Okay, Michael said that was clearly an inside job. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Maduro was already signed, sealed, and delivered. How you know it had to be an inside job is how in the hell did they build an exact replica of that man's residence and safe house? How did they do that? Somebody had to have given them the blueprint. Okay, and told them something. And so anyway, Miss Mississippi said China and Russia outsmarting white supremacy. Okay, it's all nefarious. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Trump, this just in from an hour ago. Remember, I told you all the other day that Trump was going to be meeting with the oil execs? Yeah, okay, well, they say U.S. seizes fifth oil tanker. President Trump meets with oil execs. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and
oil executives at the White House pressing them to rebuild the industry in Venezuela.
We have to get them to invest, and then we have to get their money back as quickly as we can, and then we can divvy it all up between Venezuela, the United States, and them.
Trump promising government-backed security for those investments, but not saying whether U.S. troops would be involved.
And you have total safety, total security. One of the reasons you couldn't go in is you had no guarantees, you had no security, but now you have total security.
But some CEOs like Exxon's Darren Woods blunt about the risks.
We've had our assets seized there twice. And so you can imagine to re-enter a third time would require some pretty significant changes. If we look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place today in Venezuela, today it's uninvestable.
This as the U.S. military seized a fifth oil tanker in the Caribbean, Navy and Marines rappelling down ropes to take control of the ship. And just 1 week after the U.S. captured Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and Trump declared the U.S. is running the country, President Trump now ramping up threats to take Greenland by force, if necessary, from our NATO ally, Denmark.
I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
Denmark insists Greenland is not for sale, but Trump is now questioning whether Greenland even belongs to Denmark.
The fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land.
And President Trump says he'll meet with Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Machado at the White House next week, though President Trump.
Don't you all find it interesting that Trump said just because they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean they own the land, but yet America thinks that they own this land because a boat landed here? Okay, I want y'all to pay attention to the hypocrisy of it all.
Trump has said that it would be tough for her to lead Venezuela. But when asked yesterday whether he'd reconsider if she gave him her Nobel Peace Prize, President Trump said he can't think of anyone in history who deserves the prize more than him. Gio.
And it's just incredible, as Janae reminded me earlier, that Venezuela was just 7 days ago. And so much has happened ever since. Selena Wang, thank you so much.
Trump said he can't think of anyone in history of the United States that deserves the Nobel Peace Prize more than him. He's such an idiot. Of course he would say that. But meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So Trump sicked the Secret Service on her. Okay, he's supposed to be so big and bad, but you got the Secret Service on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is accusing the White House of spreading horrific lies about her in response to a report that the White House reported her to the Secret Service. Now, an article published Friday revealed that the White House gave Greene's name to the Secret Service, believing she shared information with an anti-war activist group about Trump's plans to visit a Washington, D.C. restaurant last fall. Now he's making up stuff on this lady, but this is what she gets. Okay, you were a Trump loyalist, one of the most adamant people for Trump. Now, the dinner at Joe's Seafood, an upscale restaurant steps from the White House, marked the president's first time dining out in the city in his second term. The meal was meant to celebrate the Trump administration's efforts to decrease crime in the city after deploying the National Guard. Now, Code Pink members loudly confronted Trump during his meal, calling him Hitler. The president later suggested the activists should be put in jail for their actions. He's the one who needs to be put in jail. Okay, Greene said Friday that while she did recommend the restaurant to a member of the president's staff, she did not leak this information to the activist group. Code Pink's spokesperson also denied that it had been told of Trump's plans to dine at the restaurant by Greene in an interview. They said only the White House set up President Trump's reservation at Joe's, not me. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene posted to the social media platform X, saying I had zero knowledge of when his reservation was. The only people who could have tipped off Code Pink was the restaurant or the White House. Now, the former representative accused the White House of targeting her because they're mad at me for telling the truth about the president and forcing the release of the Epstein files. Well, that sounds about right. Greene broke from the administration by supporting a discharge petition to force a House vote on requiring the Department of Justice to release files related to convicted ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Greene has also blamed the Joe's Seafood incident on the Secret Service, accusing it of neglecting safety protocols, saying Code Pink was in the restaurant because the White House and Secret Service did not sweep Joe's, did not set up metal detectors and check everyone in the restaurant, and did not do any of their normal security protocols that they do at every public event he attends. That's what she posted. Okay, and then the Hill says they reached out to the representatives for Joe's Seafood and the Secret Service for comment, and clearly no word back. Okay, what do you all think about all of this foolishness? I find it all so egregious. So anyway, let's continue. Now, with that all being said, Trump's, like I told you all, Trump is just doing, he's just doing so much damage. He is doing so much damage. How is the United States going to recover from this? Not only him ruining, the economy and everything, people still worried about their health care. Now, they did pass a vote to expand it, okay, to extend it, because it's supposed to end in January. But the thing is, it has to be approved by Trump, okay? And so with that all being said, let's talk about this actor, Timothy Busfield, accused of child abuse on the set of a TV show in Mexico. This came out just maybe an hour or two ago. Okay, authorities in Mexico issued an arrest warrant Friday for director and Emmy Award-winning actor Timothy Busfield to face a child abuse charge. It looks like we might find out who's on the Epstein list, whether they release it or not. Okay, because some of these people, these celebrities, are getting called out for some serious allegations. Now, an investigator with the Albuquerque Police Department filed a criminal complaint in support of the charge, which says a child reported that Busfield touched them inappropriately. The act allegedly occurred on the set of The Cleaning Lady, a TV series that he directed and acted in. Now, they claim the child said the first incident happened when he was 7 years old, and Busfield touched him 3 or 4 times. Okay, allegedly touching him 5 to 6 times on another occasion when he was 8 years old. The child's mother reported to Child Protective Services that the abuse occurred between November of 2022 and the spring of 2024, according to the complaint. Now, Busfield's attorney and agent did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment on Friday. The arrest warrant, which was signed by a judge, said the charge is for 2 counts of criminal sexual contact with a minor. According to the complaint, the child, whom it identifies only by his initials, has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety. A social worker documented him saying that he has had nightmares about the man touching him and has woken up scared. The child was reportedly afraid to tell anyone because the director basically had put fear in him. Okay, he was afraid the director would get mad. So the investigation began in November of 2024 when the investigator responded to a call from a doctor at the University of New Mexico Hospital. The child's parents had gone there at the recommendation of a law firm, according to the complaint. They said the cleaning lady aired for 4 seasons on Fox, ending in 2025. Now, it starred Elodie Young as a Cambodian doctor who comes to the United States to get medical treatment for her son. Witnesses a mob killing and ends up becoming a cleaner for organized crime. The show was produced by Warner Brothers, which, according to the complaint, conducted its own investigation into the abuse allegations, but was unable to corroborate them. Okay, now they say Busfield is known for appearances in The West Wing, Field of Dreams, 30-something, the latter of which won him an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series in 1991. He's married to actor Melissa Gilbert. There was no immediate response. So, Melissa Gilbert, why is that name? Isn't that the girl that played on Little House in the Prairie, played Laura Ingalls? Once in the chat. Isn't that the girl from Little House on the Prairie? Melissa Gilbert. I'm pretty sure that's her. Well, Songwriter Sunny said that's way too mature of an environment for children. Okay, Miss Mississippi said, how did they get the details of the layout of Maduro's residence, inside connections? Exactly. Okay, Robert said Little House on the Prairie. Okay, right. I thought that's where I heard that name from. Okay, so anyway, all nefarious. With that all being said, let's go to to this story about, do you all remember the story, or have you heard the story? Because I meant to tell you all about this a few days ago, about this teacher named Linda Brown who came up missing. Okay, this teacher came up missing, and then they found her car, and her husband was saying, did a news report or whatever, and it all sounded a little sketchy, and they think maybe he did something to her or whatnot. Did y'all hear about that? Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Hold on. Let me find. Know how I missed this. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, here we go. Now let's go to this report. Family resumes the lakefront search. And some people are looking at the husband with the whole side eye. I don't know if he did it, but to be honest, when he just sounded a little suspicious to me.
Search for her in the hopes that they can help bring the family a little bit of peace.
If it was my family member, I would hope I'd get a bunch of people that weren't necessarily involved to come and help out.
Miguel Santiago says the moment he heard Linda Brown was missing, he wanted to lend a hand.
There's been a lot of stories within the past few years of people washing up ashore, so I figured her coming this way, I might as well go by the area that I know a little bit of.
The Chicago public school teacher has been missing for about a week as family and friends spent the day making another desperate plea for help in finding her.
We just want to be able to hug her and love her, and we honestly just want her home.
Brown's husband tells ABC7 he woke up last weekend to find her missing. Chicago police say she was last seen on Saturday near 45th and South King Drive, not far from where she lives. Investigators say they found Brown's car this week near 35th and Lake Park Avenue. Her family says there's video showing her getting out of that car at 3 a.m. Saturday morning, but not returning, and that she started walking over the pedestrian bridge towards the lakefront alone. Brown's relatives say she was last seen wearing a long black puffy coat, tall black boots, and a black cap. Chicago police just released this surveillance video of her wearing what appears to be that same outfit. Friends say before she disappeared, Brown often came to the lakefront to clear her head and have recently been experiencing anxiety about returning to the classroom after a leave of absence.
We know that the police have been here with dogs and drones and diving teams, but we're hopeful that more people and more eyes will lead to some type of information that leads us to find Linda.
Family says it's possible she's still on foot. They continue to circulate flyers throughout the Chicago area, hoping to bring her home.
It could be a mental health challenge. It could be a physical health challenge. She's had some other medical challenges that, could be impacting her ability to be totally coherent.
The family says they plan on searching the area once again tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m.
Okay, well, with that all being said, she's been missing long enough. I don't think it's going to be any good news. Let's go to this video of this this guy. He does like body language. He's supposed to be like a body language expert or a behavior analyst, and he breaks down what he thinks about it as far as the husband's involvement. Whether the husband didn't mean to do that, as far as whether the husband was involved or not. So let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, now I'm going to use an overlay because this is someone else's video.
Her husband said they watched a movie together before they went to bed. She actually went to bed before he did, but when he came to bed, she was there. And when he woke up the next morning at 8:35, she was gone. This is from 2 different interviews he did with news people. And let's take a look at it and see what we think.
We watched the movie Friday night, and she went to bed before I did. I stayed up a little later. She was in the bed when I went to bed. When I woke up at 8:35, she was gone.
Did she take anything?
She didn't take anything. She took her purse, credit cards, but I'm thinking she was at acupuncture.
All right, he's swaying back and forth a little bit. That's adapting. That's from nervousness. That's totally normal in a situation like this.
Now let's say something here. First of all, when I saw him on the news, he looked a little suspicious. I was like, he didn't seem like he was very, very upset. But at the end of the day, most Black folk, now I'm just being honest, most Black folk don't kill their spouses and then pretend that they're missing. I'm not saying that he did or didn't. I'm just saying. Joyce says, just gone acupuncture. Joyce clearly not buying it. Locked Vegan says she didn't take anything, but she took her purse and keys. I am so done. Joy said, truth queen. Now listen, let's give him a piece of a benefit of the doubt until we hear what the rest of what this behavior analyst has to say. Because like I said, we usually don't see people who look like us doing such nefarious things. I'm saying, think about it. You really don't hear a lot of stories. If you watch true crime stories, like I love and read a lot of reports and stuff, you really don't hear Black people getting rid of their spouses for the insurance money. Now, I'm not saying none of them have ever done it. Of course they have. But you just, you just don't hear that, more so from Black people. Also, getting rid of your spouse and then, making a police report like they're literally missing and, you just took them out of here to the spiritual realm. Yeah, Black people usually don't do that either. I'm not saying that some of us don't, but that's just not something that's commonly known amongst us. That's common amongst other people. Black people are known for robberies, burglaries, selling illegal substances. I'm just saying, if we're talking about things that are known, crimes that are known for certain communities, it's not our community that's known for people coming up missing that have been found dead and then the spouse likely did it, or people being taken up out of here into the spiritual realm, for insurance funds is all I'm saying. Hey, Nene said y'all got the queen tickled. Right, because they're so nefarious. Look, Jay Love the Queen said not a piece of the benefit of the doubt. That's the least we can do, right? That's the least we can do, but let's continue. By the time this man's finished, because I haven't watched this, OG Patrice sent it to me right before I started the live, along with the story, which I had seen the story on Instagram the other day, and I forgot to talk about it. But so OG sent me this, and I have not watched it. So let's get to the end and see what we think after after this.
But we're not seeing the eye lock we usually see when somebody is not telling the truth. They'll lock eyes with whoever they're talking to and make sure they believe them, and they'll be looking for those expressions of, I don't know, does this make sense? I don't believe you, those kind of things. We're not seeing that. He'll talk to her for a second, then he looks away, then he comes back. Most people are under the impression that breaking eye contact.
Hold on. Fly Gemini said, I remember the runaway bride. They had that poor white man guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Then her dumbass showed up. Yeah, exactly. You know, I was one of the people that volunteered to go search for her because I didn't have ish to do. I'm like, and then to find out that she hightailed up out of there because she got cold feet. Girl, are you serious? And they had it all over the news. And do you all remember when they found that hair, that clump of hair that they thought was hers? Because y'all know I be into these missing cases or whatever. I try to help find the people whenever I can. And I report on missing people. But honey, when I tell you that was a whole cotton game, but then they ended up charging her. The police did, I think, or at least they said they were going to charge her for the resources that they wasted looking for her. But let's continue.
It means you're lying or means you're being deceptive. Doesn't mean that at all. So get rid of that if that's what you think. He's not talking about the minutia of things. He's not talking about the little things that don't matter in this situation. He's just saying exactly what happened, and he keeps repeating those things. Nothing changes.
We watched the movie Friday night, and she went to bed before I did. I stayed up a little later. She was in the bed when I went to bed. When I woke up at 8:35, she was gone.
He's not showing any cues of deception. And he's not talking like she's not with us anymore.
She didn't take anything. She took her purse, credit cards, but I'm thinking she was at acupuncture.
There are no cues of deception here. There's the stress we see from someone who's on the news and who's had an event happen to him, like he said, like his wife is missing. That looks normal here. However, we do see a huge cue of contempt. That side of his mouth goes up. And that could be from several different things. It could be for contempt toward her because he's mad that she left. We don't see any of the stress we usually see when the person who's talking knows the person isn't with us anymore. And he's talking about her purse. That's when that comes up. Now, that could be he's under the impression that she took her purse because she's leaving him or she's done this before and she stayed in a hotel or whatever. So that's why I think we're seeing frustration here. He's angry with her, but he's frustrated with her, but he's afraid something's happened to her, but he doesn't know what.
I'm broke down. I don't know what to do. I did everything. I'm talking to people. We got people on it. We got people searching for it. I'm out of options. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, but just wait.
We're not seeing any single shoulder shrugs when just one little shoulder shrug goes up. We're seeing these double shoulder shrugs, and those are from frustration in this situation. And again, there's no eye lock here. If you're being deceptive with someone, you keep looking at them because you want to make sure they believe you. You want to see if they make a face that, like, what? Those kind of things. We're not seeing that here at all. So don't be under the impression when someone breaks eye contact with you, they're being deceptive or they're lying to you.
She was in the bed when I went upstairs. Everything was fine. Don't know when, she got up.
And we're not seeing any of that stress we usually see when somebody's worried about being caught for doing something bad to somebody. We're not seeing that kind of thing at all. Nothing where he's worried about himself. He's worried about her.
She was in the bed when I went upstairs. Everything was fine. Don't know when, she got up.
Now, this may sound a little bit odd to you, but that's because he's told this story a whole lot to law enforcement in the last few hours. Because when something like this happens, they'll ask you the same questions over and over, not just right in a row, but they'll ask you a lot about what happened and where that person might be and all those kind of things. So he's been telling this a lot. So it's sort of rolling off his tongue as he's talking about this. He's used to answering this so far. It's just been a few hours, I'm sure. But he doesn't look worried about that. He's got no problem. This is very smooth, his delivery.
I did everything. I'm talking to people. We got people on it. We got people searching for it. I'm out of options. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, but just wait. She was in the bed when I went upstairs. Everything was fine. Don't know when, she got up.
We don't see him worried. We don't see him, those eyes widen up. We see a lot of frustration up here in his brow. But we don't see grief. There's not a lot of grief happening up here. We don't see the grief muscle, just frustration. So I think he's under the impression she's still with us. And I think he might be mad at her because he thinks she did it on purpose. Also, we're not hearing any fading facts. That happens when a person's telling you something that's not true, or they're lying to you or being deceptive. As they talk, as it gets toward the end of the sentence, it gets a lot quieter because you're sort of separating yourself from the lie. Your brain's saying, man, we shouldn't be saying this. You're lying. This is not good. So you get quieter as you go. It's nothing you do on purpose, and usually it's nothing you can control. But we're not hearing fading facts here.
We found the car. CPD towed it.
This is interesting because he said we found the car. He didn't say the police found the car or they found the car. He said we found the car. He feels like he's part of the team trying to find her. He's put himself in that group. Quite often people will try to look like they're in that group and say, well, the police told us this. The police found that. The police did this. Not every time, but quite often it seems the person who does that is the person who is gets in trouble for that person being missing. How does that sound without being graphic?
We found the car. CPD towed it.
So that doesn't happen. He doesn't separate himself from the group or the team that's looking for his wife.
I'm not eating. I'm not really sleeping. So, man, she need to come home.
This is a lot of frustration here. Look at his brow. A lot of frustration in there. It's not the grief muscle. And he's on that verge of being panicked because he's so frustrated and he's so angry. Then he's starting to think maybe something has happened to her. I think that's the point he's at right now. That's why it's starting to shake a little bit. But his story stays the same. His delivery stays the same. His delivery is a little bit more emotional at some points. But that's because you've got these emotions that are going up and down. And you're trying to control them as you're answering questions and you're on TV.
I'm not eating. I'm not really sleeping. So, man, she need to come home.
But I get the feeling she may have done this before. May have gotten up and just left in the middle of the night, and he's not saying that. I could be wrong, but maybe she's done that kind of thing before, because he looks really, really frustrated about this. I know I keep saying that, but I think that's what we're seeing. And we don't see frustration like this a lot. So that may be why as well it seems odd to people and seems different. It seems like, oh, he may be lying about this. So far, I'm not under the impression he's lying about this at all. I just think he's frustrated and a little bit angry. And we're not seeing any fear for himself. No, he has fear for her. He's starting to think something might have happened to her when she left. He's under the impression she left. I really believe he thinks that, and that happened because he thinks that. I don't see any deception here. I don't see somebody who's trying to guard themselves, somebody who's making stuff up. He's just telling the same thing he's told over and over and over.
You know what? She probably ran off with somebody else, and that's why he's frustrated. He doesn't think that she's dead. I don't think he thinks anything really even happened to her. He thinks that she probably just took off. Maybe he thinks that she's with somebody else. Mr. Mystical Black Realm said, "Boombastic side eye." Okay. Okay, Wendell said, "Checkmate, Queen." Yeah, that's what I think. I think she got the H up out of here with somebody else. Okay, that's what I think. And she left while he was asleep too. So with that all being said, now let's talk about this next story. Then we're out of here, beloveds. But let's talk about this dentist whose wife also came up missing. Okay, and then we have somebody doing some body language expert giving his thoughts on it. Okay, not the same one. This is a behavioral analyst. This other person's a body language expert. And we're going to go to that. But here's what Ashley Banfield has to say about this story, which is very interesting. Okay, let's get into it.
Ashley Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious. Happy New Year. It's good to see you. Police in Columbus, Ohio, have just released the first image yet of a person of interest in this unbearably brutal crime that seems to have like neighbors and family members completely mystified because something awful happened to a happy young couple. They were savagely shot to death in their own home with their little kids still inside. This man or woman was captured by a doorbell cam.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I misread that. The dentist and his wife mysteriously murdered in their home. Okay, I thought it was the dentist's wife murdered. So both of them are dead. So well, we know he didn't do it, but we still have this dentist and wife mysteriously murdered in their home with no forced entry. Oh, he's just basically giving a case analysis. I thought he was doing body language. Okay, so let's continue. This is going to be interesting.
In the early morning hours of Tuesday morning, December 30th, that's when someone murdered Spencer and Monique Tepe. It happened in the middle of the night. Their two little children, aged 4 and 1, were left to fend for themselves with their dead parents' bodies nearby. Those kids are now in the care of relatives.
Now, this is so sad and disturbing for those children to be left there with the dead bodies of their parents. This, for those of you who follow who have memberships and you follow True Crime Sundays, you know that I reported on a story a few weeks ago about 2 weeks ago, where the people were in the home and they had that home invasion where those thugs came in there and killed the entire family, all of the adults, the mother, the father, the 20-year-old son, and left the two younger children who were probably between 1 and 3 years old, left them in there with the corpses. So sad. Let's continue.
Spencer was a respected dentist, and police ruled out murder-suicide like almost immediately. There was no way that was what had happened in that house. So far, the gun remains a mystery. Police did not find it. And the weird thing is as well, they saw no evidence of a break-in, right? No forced entry, no smashing around. The murders actually were discovered by a friend who got so concerned when Spencer didn't show up for work. It was not like him. He was so reliable that within minutes of him not showing up, the calls were going into 911. So one of these friends went by the Tepe's house, and that is when all hell broke loose.
Now, do you all hear that? Within minutes of him not showing up to work, they started calling 911. That's when you know that somebody is dedicated, reliable, and dependable. Okay, that's how reliable he was. They instantly felt like something had to be wrong. Some of y'all could be home dead for days, unfortunately, and nobody would come looking for you. Because you come to work late, you call in, giving fake excuses, and then post selfies online showing that you're out to dinner or on a vacation or whatever. So people just don't know what to think about most of you in this chat. Okay, specifically people like Buckhorse DC and Desmond. But let me continue. I don't want to get sidetracked.
There's a body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just took a wellness check. We just came here, and he appears dead.
Okay.
There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood. I can't get closer to see more than that.
Okay, so you can tell he's obviously not breathing or anything?
Yeah.
Is it like kind of like does he look like...
It doesn't look cuddled. I can't look.
Okay. All right. I understand.
Earlier on my News Nation show, I talked to Rob Misla. He is Spencer Tepe's brother-in-law. He's married to Spencer's sister. And I asked him specifically, among other things, about those kids and what those kids might have witnessed while they were still inside the home with the killer and then afterwards with the bodies. I'm going to play you our conversation in just a second. But first, I just want to thank you so much for supporting this podcast. It is going to be a great 2026. I also want to thank my sponsors because they really do make this podcast possible, like Simply Safe. This video is sponsored by Simply Safe. When I'm at home, my number one priority is love that with Simply Safe, the app, or a break-in. It is easy to install yourself or have a pro do it.
No, unfortunately, I know just as much as the next person. I was told by a reporter about 10 minutes before this got posted that it was released by the police department. And, when I first saw it, yeah, I do think suspicious looking person there. It also very well could be, somebody walking home drunk from a bar. But it's evidence nonetheless that hasn't been released until now, and it's good that they're kind of progressing through this.
Okay, so that was between 2 a.m. That was between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. They said that's the window between the time frame that the shooting likely happened. With that all being said, now let's go to this case breakdown of it. Okay, with this case analysis. I want to know what this man has to say about this because I find it all interesting. And hold on. This is Dr. Todd Grand. Let me put my overlay on here. Oh, I'm sorry. I already had it on. All right, here we go.
Tepe. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Spencer Tepe was born in 1988 and lived in Columbus, Ohio. In 2012, he earned a bachelor's degree in biology and Spanish from The Ohio State University. In 2017, he graduated from that school's College of Dentistry with a Doctor of Dental Surgery. Spencer found work as a dentist with Stone Creek Dental Care in Ashland, Ohio, before taking a job at the Athens Dental Depot in Athens, Ohio, 75 miles southeast of Columbus. His round-trip commute every day was 2.5 hours. On January 30, 2021, Spencer married a woman named Monique, who was 2 years older than him. Monique had been married before. The couple had no children and divorced in 2017. Court records indicated the divorce was amicable and settled quickly. Spencer and Monique went on to have a girl and a boy. The family lived in a 2,500 square foot two-story house at 1411 North 4th Street. This house has a detached garage in the rear, which faces an alley. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On December 30, 2025, Spencer Tepe failed to show up at work.
Let me just say this really quickly. Those houses look to be close together. So if someone fired a gun, unless they had a silencer, I would have thought maybe one of the neighbors may have heard something. I don't know that they did or didn't, but I find that interesting. Desmond said, "No, you didn't, Queen. The shade was thrown." Desmond, I'm just joking. I'm half joking. Half joking, okay, beloved? All right, but let me continue. Thank you for your... No, Desmond, darn well, I literally was just talking to you days ago about being punctual at work. I mean, even though I'm a fine one to talk because I'm always late getting to the live, but nonetheless. Let's continue. Desmond, thank you for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. I appreciate
prompting his coworkers to contact the police at 8:58 a.m. for a welfare check. At 9:22 a.m., the police arrived at the Tepe family home on North 4th Street. After not getting an answer at the front door or the back door, the officers left. About a half hour later, colleagues and a friend arrived at the house. A man called 911 at 9:56 a.m. and said he could hear children inside the house and thought he heard one of them yell. The caller continued by saying, quote, "But we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in to get in the house or what," unquote. The police were dispatched back to the house. At 10:03 a.m., prior to the police arriving, a friend who came by the family house called 911 with a troubling update. He said, quote, "There's a body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here and he appears dead. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, in this blood. I can't get closer to see more than that," unquote. The police arrived 1 minute later at 10:04 a.m. They found both Spencer and Monique dead in an upstairs bedroom. Spencer had been shot multiple times. Monique had been shot at least one time in the chest. They were pronounced dead at 10:11 a.m. The couple's 4-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son were unharmed, at least physically. The family dog, a golden doodle, was also unharmed. The police were able to determine that neither Spencer nor Monique was the shooter. So this was not a case where One of them killed the other before bringing an end to their own life. An intruder must have shot both of them to death. Spent 9mm cases were found at the scene, suggesting the killer used a semi-automatic pistol. The murder weapon was not located. There was no forced entry into the couple's house. A surveillance camera captured an image of a person walking in an alley near the Tepe family home. The police indicated this individual is a person of interest. The mysterious figure appears to be a man, although there is no way to know for sure. He was wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt and light pants. The man was walking with his hands in his pockets and at one point either touched his face or pulled down his hood. Maybe he was aware that being identified would be unwise. Initially, the police were looking for any surveillance video from the public captured between 12 a.m. and 9 a.m. on December 30, 2025. Later, they revised the request and narrowed the hours to the 3-hour window between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Investigators believe the murders occurred during this time range, although they did not say why they believe that. There have been no reports about anything missing from the house, although one dispatch report included a reference to the 10 code 1041A, which is a robbery report. Dispatch codes can be preliminary, misclassified, or corrected later. The use of this code does not definitively point to a robbery. At the time I am making this video, the investigation into the murders continues. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. The double homicide of Spencer and Monique Tepe is a very mysterious case. There are many unanswered questions. Here are just a few examples. What was the motive for these murders? Who would want to kill this couple? Was this a random attack or were they targeted? A doorbell camera was mounted next to the front door of the family home. Did it capture anything? There was a police camera a few hundred feet away from the house on a telephone pole. Did this camera catch a glimpse of the killer? A sign in front of the house indicated that a security system was installed. People often use signs like this even without an active security system as a deterrent. But if there was a system, why didn't it sound an alarm when the killer entered the house? The police found the family golden doodle unharmed. Did this dog bark at the perpetrator? Maybe the dog did not bark because the perpetrator was known to the dog. Item number 2, there was no forced entry into the house, which leads to a few possibilities. The killer made entry through a door that was unlocked. How would he have known the door was unlocked? Was he just lucky and happened to find an unlocked door on the house that he wanted to target for murder? The killer may have had a key. If this was the case, how did he get the key? Was he a close friend to the family? Or the killer may have been let into the house. This seems unlikely given that Spencer and Monique were found dead in an upstairs bedroom. Did one of them let the perpetrator into the house, then return to the bedroom before being shot to death? That doesn't really make any sense. Item number 3, the video of the person of interest does not reveal a lot of helpful information. The man appears to be of normal height, normal build, he has a normal gait, and he is wearing regular clothing. Was the video captured before or after the murders? If it was captured before, then it is not particularly useful. However, if it was captured after, the video tells more of a story. Robbery probably wasn't the motive because the man was not carrying anything. He did not even have a backpack or other type of bag. The man was not running, which is consistent with being calm under pressure. Item number 4, the killer left multiple spent 9mm cases at the scene, which was extremely unwise if his objective was to escape justice. The cases reveal the type of ammunition that was used.
Yeah, that's crazy because that's the first thing I thought about. Shell casings left behind. Usually they would pick those up. Okay, that's real crazy.
And can be matched to a firearm if the murder weapon is ever recovered. Furthermore, the cases could contain DNA or fingerprints. If the killer planned the crime for some time, a revolver would have been a much better choice because it does not leave cases behind. This makes it seem like the killer used a weapon he just happened to own, or did not understand the liability created by leaving cases behind. Item number 5, it is unusual that a killer would desire to murder both members of a married couple, especially if the couple did not have any unusual romantic connections to outsiders. There is no evidence that Spencer and Monique did. A much more likely scenario is that the killer was only targeting one of them. Spencer was shot multiple times, whereas Monique was shot at least once. The phrase "at least once" could of course mean multiple times, but it is reasonable to believe that Spencer was shot more times than Monique. He was probably the killer's target. Monique was killed simply because she was a witness. Item number 6, the fact that Spencer and Monique were killed in their bedroom suggests that robbery was not the motive. The killer knew he was entering an occupied structure. He sought the couple out when he could have easily avoided them. This was not a situation where Spencer came down the steps carrying a baseball bat and the killer panicked. This was a cold-blooded double murder perpetrated by someone who entered that house with a specific intent to kill. This brings me to my final item, number 7. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Spencer and Monique were killed by someone who knew them personally. This explains why the dog barking was not an issue. It also explains why the perpetrator did not need to force entry into the house. He knew the door was unlocked, or he had a key. The motive was revenge, jealousy, anger, resentment, or some other destructive emotion. Spencer was the intended target. Monique was killed to protect the identity of the perpetrator. Despite the mystery created by this double homicide, the killer was not sophisticated. Leaving the cases behind was a risky move. Retrieving them would have only taken a few seconds. It seems likely the police will find the killer after they explore all the people with whom Spencer and Monique had regular contact. Eventually, they will discover one person who has a motive and who does not have an alibi. If the perpetrator was a stranger, this case will be very challenging to solve and leads to the fear of the killer striking again. For now, this case sits at the intersection of evidence, human emotion, and unanswered questions, waiting for one detail to bring clarity. Those are my thoughts on the case of Spencer and Monique Tepe.
Okay, that was a good analysis as far as I'm concerned. I agree with it too. I definitely think it was someone who knew them. Okay, I definitely think it was a person who knew them at the end of the day, because how the hell did they know that door was unlocked? Or, like he said, did they have a key? There was no forced entry. These people didn't let them in because they were in the bed asleep. Definitely someone who knew them. Listen, when people are killed in the bed while they lay asleep, it is 9 times out of 10 someone who knows them. Think about Rob Reiner and his wife. Their son is the killer, Nick Reiner, allegedly. He's the person of interest, okay? So with that all being said, didn't he take them out while they were asleep? Then think about the man who killed his wife because he had a whole mistress in another state that was actually friends with his wife, by the way. And he killed his wife while she was in bed, while she lay asleep. He went in there and got on top of her and started strangling her. I think that's how he did it. But when these people are killed while they're asleep, yeah, think about what's that crazy lady's name that killed her husband and the new wife? There was a story made about her on Lifetime. Her name was Betty something. Y'all know who I'm talking about, that crazy lady? Betty Dandridge. What was her name? Hold on. I'll tell you in just a second. She did this as they lay in bed asleep. Betty Broderick. That's her name. Shot and killed her ex-husband, Dan Broderick, and his new wife, Linda Colkina Broderick, as they slept. Okay, so if somebody breaks in and comes in here and kills you, just like that other story, there was a story where somebody broke in and killed the family. They killed the mom, the dad, the son. The daughter only got away because she was off at college and she just happened to come home that weekend unannounced. So the killer didn't know she was in there, but went from room to room killing everybody else, and then come to find out it was the best friend of the son, or whom he thought was his best friend. And when they asked him his motive for the killing, he said because they were too damn happy. Yeah, that's what it was. He said these people were too happy for him, and he was jealous of that. How they ate dinner together every evening at 6 o'clock. How they just laughed and had a good time together. Kill these people because they were too happy? That's a whole demon. Okay, that's a whole demon. There was another story that I read where these people went to church and someone broke in their house while they were at church, hid in the attic until they went to sleep that night, crept out and murdered them all, including their children and even the child who spent the night. Okay, the children were like 12 years old. Okay, that's one reason I never used to let my children spend the night at anybody's house. If your friends want to see you, they come spend the night with us because I know what's going on in this house. And it turned out to be somebody who likely the people knew. So yeah, I absolutely believe it's going to be somebody they know. Danger said, yes, Betty was off the chain. She lost it. Yeah, she did. She helped that man. She paid for him to go to law school. She paid the bills while he was in law school, held it down, and then only for him to become a big-time lawyer, making all this cash, and leaves her for his secretary, who's young, like maybe 15 to 20 years younger, and then marries her. Yeah, she was mad as hell. She went to that house and crept in there in the middle of the night while they lay in the bed asleep and gave them both bullets. Okay? It's all crazy. Joy says, exactly, Queen, only a demon would do such a thing. Right. You have to be a whole demon to be mad enough to kill people simply because they're happy. Like, make that make sense. Okay, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the broadcast. I'm out of here. Okay, I'm out of here. I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, okay, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. And y'all need to really be calling on the Most High right now because I'm telling y'all, Trump is wreaking havoc. Okay, now when you have Germany coming out and saying that we're destroying world order, okay, destroying world order, that's very serious. Okay, but what did I tell you all? Because they want a new one. Okay, they want a new one. That's what they want. I'm not going to say those words together. But with that all being said, hold on. Let me just go to that before I'm out. Let's just go to that clip real quick, and then we're out of here. Measurement said sounded like waiting to exhale.
Zu verhindern, dass sich die Welt in eine Räuberhöhle.
Now he says they're turning into a den of thieves. That's what they're saying about the U.S. Okay, turning into a den of thieves.
Verwandelt.
Speaking at a symposium, the German president struck an unusually sharp tone. He described Russia's invasion of Ukraine as a historic turning point, but warned that there had been a second turning point.
Da ist eben auch in der Tat der Wert.
It says a rupture of values by our most important partner.
Wertebruch unseres wichtigsten Partners USA.
The United States,
Der
the
diese
partner that
Ordnung,
helps
von der ich eben gesprochen habe,
building the order I have just described.
mit aufgebaut und über Jahrzehnte vor allen Dingen
And for decades shaped it in a decisive way.
maßgeblich geprägt hat. Glaube ich, müssen wir einfach sagen,
the German government has been criticized for not speaking out
von innen und von außen wie nie zuvor
over recent statements by the U.S. administration.
angegriffen und gefährdet ist. Was wir
But Steinmeier's role allows him more freedom than leading politicians.
erleben ist in der Tat, Stoltenberg hat es zitiert,
without naming the U.S., Venezuela, or Greenland,
nach meiner Überzeugung so etwas wie ein
he warned of a world where power replaces rules.
doppelter Epochenbruch. Inzwischen sind wir ja über das Stadium hinaus, nach meiner Überzeugung,
In my view, we have moved well
indem
beyond the
wir
stage
den mangelnden Respekt
of merely lamenting a lack of respect
vor dem Völkerrecht,
for international law or the erosion of the international order.
oder die Erosion der internationalen Ordnung. Heute geht es darum,
Today, the task is to prevent the
zu
world
verhindern, dass sich die Welt
from turning into a den of thieves,
in eine Räuberhöhle verwandelt, in der sich die Skrupel
where the most ruthless simply take whatever they want. That would be Trump.
losesten nehmen, was sie wollen. Heute geht es darum,
Y'all heard that? Lillian said, Queen, if you come back later, I'll be at a watch party watching the Bears. Okay? I don't think I'm coming back later, beloved, unless there's some serious breaking news. Okay, Miss Mississippi said they would try to destroy NWO. Y'all know I don't like to say those words together because they put it like a thing on your channel. The system they destroyed, and they destroyed the current one. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, this is all crazy. So anyway, y'all pray for peace. Okay, in the Middle East and the United States. That all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Also, make sure you're following your lifelines. Y'all can see how this is all turning out. Make sure you're following your lifelines. Get your non-perishable food items, lights, or flashlights, batteries, okay, generators if you can. They have those solar powered generators for cheaper, like $200 and something if I'm not mistaken, and getting water every time you go to the grocery store and all of these things, okay? People that you can barter with in the case of an emergency. Figuring out what you can do if we're plunged into darkness, okay? For days and weeks even. All right, it's about to get real ugly. Now, this is not fear-mongering, but I just want you all to be prepared just in case. With that all been said, I will talk to you all again soon. Until next time, beloveds, peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. All in my skin. God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got